Good morning, friends. It is with my warmest regards and open arms that I welcome you home to embrace the film. Join me, if you will, in the merciful bounty provided by our Lord and the glorious festivities that we have in store for you all, as we witness the crowning of the Solstice May Queen on this, the eve of Midsommar. Given my one grievance with Hereditary, it was my goal to venture into this one as blindly as possible. I had only seen the first trailer for the film and had high hopes that I would be met with something new and unexpected. And while it's difficult not to draw a kind of cult worship vibe from the marketing on this one, I can still genuinely say that my hopes for this project were pretty well met. Now, I want to preface what follows by the fact that I have only just seen the film, and that there have been many instances where my initial reaction is positive, and then as time goes on and I put more thought into it, my opinion begins to sour. This time around, Ari Aster brings us on a journey alongside Danny and Christian, a young American couple with a relationship that stands on the brink of falling apart. However, after Danny experiences a family tragedy that keeps the two of them together, Christian reluctantly invites Danny on a trip with his friends to a once-in-a-lifetime Midsummer Festival in a remote Swedish village. What begins as a carefree summer holiday in a land graced by what seems like eternal sunshine soon takes a sinister turn as the villagers invite their guests to take part in a series of festivities that grow increasingly more disturbing. To crush this one right out of the gate, while for me, Hereditary had the issue of being burdened with a base story that was far too similar to many films of its kind, Midsommar did not suffer this problem. Though it is my belief at this time that this will not be a film for everyone, based solely on my theatrical experience with it. Throughout the film, we are presented an entirely new view on the world, through the lens of this small cultural sect, as we are introduced to it gradually alongside these characters, much of which was so vastly different than what we perceive as normal that it takes you very genuinely by surprise. During the screening that I attended, when presented with what I would call the more disturbing aspects of the film, the audience around me found themselves outwardly laughing, which is an understandable reaction given that much of what we were presented with is so far outside of the standard societal norms that it sometimes feels like it's crossing the boundaries of absurdity. This definitely isn't your traditional horror film. It's more akin to things like Darren Aronofsky's Mother or Black Swan. For those who have seen those, you may get where I'm going with this. Rather than being a film about a haunting or a summoning of a demon or even witchcraft, this is a film about very real and very plausible horrors that could and often do exist out there. From here on out, I'm going to be touching on some mild spoilers, so if you don't want to know any more, then please proceed no further. This film kicks off by introducing you to a cast of characters who all have extreme emotional flaws, the types of real-life horrors that a lot of us deal with every day. We are placed right alongside Danny, our main protagonist, who we are told from a very young age suffered with anxiety-related issues and panic attacks, who we then witness experience a tragedy so horrific, related to a more extreme form of mental illness, that plunges her into a life of depression and PTSD, which anyone who has ever dealt with these issues knows is like living wrapped up in your own personal form of hell. Many that I know, myself included, have in the past or still suffer through these things every day, and it's never easy. And this parallels into each of the characters in some form or another. Christian deals with an inability to focus and make decisions or even talk about his feelings. Mark deals with a form of anxiety about diseases and insects. One could say a general fear of the outside world. And Josh expresses a highly obsessive nature regarding his thesis. Another thing that plays in tandem with Danny's anxieties is a fear of not being accepted, which we see right away with the facts that her boyfriend doesn't love her and his friends don't accept her at all. So, unbeknownst to her, she is placing herself in a situation where she is going outside of her comfort zone with a group of people who don't want her, which, for someone in her shoes, is possibly one of the most horrific situations you could find yourself in. Since I have just touched on the characters a bit, I'd like to take this time to say that the cast did an absolutely incredible job portraying these characters. For a film comprised of relative unknowns, each of them went above and beyond to portray these characters with such incredible emotional depth and a high degree of authenticity. Even though we are still standing in the early stages of Ari Aster's career, I've begun noticing a theme in his work. It seems like he is developing a series of stories that have a very heavy influence of paganism. In Hereditary, they worship Paimon, who was essentially this pagan demon. Here, they don't get too specific, but there is a strong paganism vibe with the rune carvings, stuffing the bodies with straw, and even the ceremonial rituals and attire. This is a cultural idea that I personally have always been fascinated by, so I love that someone is finally venturing down that rabbit hole. Upon this first viewing, this film was what I hoped it would be. It was something different, that I didn't find myself with the ability to fully predict what would happen next every step of the way. It presented me with a highly compelling story alongside strong, well-developed characters. And it also left me with the feeling that Hereditary may have been a situation where Aster was playing it safe, basically presenting us with a more familiar story while delivering his visual style and tone. And this time around, he gave us the real type of film that he wishes to create, which, if this is what we have to look forward to from now on, then I am extremely interested in seeing what he has coming down the line. Ari Aster has an incredible visual style that utilizes a slow-moving camera, creeping pans and zooms, and a highly ominous tone and color palette that draws you in and entrances you. It delivers a strong vibe that I feel is reminiscent of 70s cinema, and it creates an experience that sticks with you long after you leave the theater. I really enjoyed the elements of motion that Aster worked into this one. He utilized this shifting effect on both elements of the background, such as trees and buildings, and even on people's faces at times, to almost give the effect of nature breathing. The most prime example being a flower on the May Queen's headdress that flexes rhythmically as if it were breathing with her. Now, the obvious reason for this was to convey the hallucinatory effect, given that our characters were being systematically drugged throughout the film. However, a few of these effects, which show grass growing into Danny's hand or roots growing up her shoes, almost pose the notion that she is becoming rooted to this place, and possibly to this culture. There was one shot in particular that I could have even sworn that the trees in the background were forming a giant face with eyes that were watching the festivities take place. But maybe I was just so drawn into the moment that I imagined it. I also noticed that he delivers a strong love of symmetry in the composition of his shots, which, when coupled with the high degree of detail that he ingrains within every frame, creates a gorgeous visual spectacle that you will want to return to. Guys, I have already seen that there are those of you out there who aren't going to agree with me on this one. But, like I said before, everyone is entitled to their own opinions. This one just happens to be mine. I personally love a slow burn horror that builds dread every step of the way and plays on fears that hit very close to home. This one starts you off on the edge and pushes you closer and closer to the tipping point with every scene. So if you've already seen this film, and you're like me, let us join hands in giving Midsommar an A. With films like this, more than any other, I look forward to hearing thoughts from you guys down in the comments below. Did you notice anything that I might have missed? Did you have any theories about this one that I didn't think of? Feel free to let me know. If you've had a chance to see this flick, please feel free to let me know. It's just a quick scroll down there in that comment section below. If you like this video, maybe a little more than you can describe, shoot me a little thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. If you really enjoy my channel and you want to support it even more, consider checking out ETF on Patreon or Tippy, where every pledge and every tip brings more films to explore. But all jokes and rhymes aside, if you have any suggestions for films that you would like me to check out, or that you would like to see reviewed on this channel, feel free to reach out to me here on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and I will catch you all next time. Thanks for watching.